Welcome back to Obscurest Gaming. We have another co-op related video for you today where we will be taking a look at 28 more underrated couch co-op games for the Nintendo Switch. Most of these games are ones I've played in the last year or so that either just missed my previous list or I finally had the time to take a deeper look at them. At the end of the video, I will also be sharing a few co-op games I am most looking forward to this year that you may have never heard of before or maybe just were announced at E3 this past couple of weeks. Timestamps for all games will be in the video description, so let's begin. Up first, we have Biped, a two-player adventure game where you play as slightly awkward but charming robots who rely on each other to overcome obstacles. The game's biggest hurdle is in controlling the robot's legs with each control stick, but once you understand the mechanic, there is a really fun game here, so definitely give it a look. Next up comes a unique driving game called Can't Drive This, where the premise involves one player driving a monster truck and the other builds the road on the fly. It sounds a bit gimmicky, but the game is executed quite well and provides some chaotic fun in short bursts for up to 4 players as well. Catastronauts is an Overcooked-esque teamwork party game for up to 4 players, where you will be running a spaceship, fighting invaders, and fixing various issues that pop up on the fly. The game is a bit rough around the edges compared to Overcooked, but benefits from its easy to pick up and play concept and ability to keep you on your toes in humorous ways. Up next is a game I just recently reviewed for the channel called Very Valet. You and a team of up to 4 valets will attempt to park and retrieve guest vehicles on increasingly outlandish courses. The game does a great job of balancing frenetic fun without any of the frustrations. Definitely pick it up. Next is a pair of cooperative action puzzle games from the same company, Conduct Together, and its spiritual sequel, Fly Together. Both games involve players controlling either trains or planes on set levels to avoid crashes or trying to safely deliver passengers. I find Conduct Together to be a bit more puzzly, where Fly Together is a bit more party-focused, but both are polished and worthwhile experiences, even more so when playing with others. This will probably be the most recognized game on my list, but many of you might not know that co-op support was recently added to the campaign, making this the Untitled Geese game. The puzzles themselves don't work quite as well for 2 players, but it is still a whole lot of fun to play this goose trolling simulator with a fellow honking bird. Continuing the bird theme here is Blazing Beaks, which is a little tough to sum up, but it is essentially a top-down roguelike twin-stick shooter game that focuses on multiplayer shenanigans more than anything else. The game is surprisingly deep with a ton of different modes to choose from. It doesn't do anything revolutionary in the genre, but for 2 players specifically, it's a great time. Up next on this list comes Alpaca Ball All-Stars, one of my favorite Switch games period for the simple fun and joy it brings to the table that also has a co-op element that should not be overlooked. See my other videos for a more in-depth look at the game, but just know the campaign is entirely playable with 2 alpacas, and quick matches can always be played with up to 8 players locally. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons was released originally a decade ago but came to the Switch in 2019 with 2-player co-op added in. It is an adventure puzzle game with a decent story that was actually originally created for just a single player, using different control sticks for each brother, but the co-op version of the game provides a more relaxed experience for those who want something light to play through. Cat Quest 2 is a fun action RPG that can be enjoyed with a second player. This is one of the more polished games on my entire list and really expands on everything that made the original so charming to a lot of Switch fans. The game is not too overwhelming in terms of length, at least for an RPG, so I found it to be a super refreshing and at least semi-original take on the often saturated RPG market. Knights and Bikes might be the most original game I have on this list, with its over-the-top Saturday morning cartoon look and varied gameplay. You play as two friends who meet and then explore and solve puzzles on a wacky island, with a focus on upgrading your bike throughout the game. Its humor might not be for everyone, but if you want to try something different, this is a polished and creative adventure that you should check out. So the twin-stick genre of cooperative games could have its own complete list, but one game to emerge from that crowd that is relatively unknown to many is Colt Canyon. It is a pixelated western roguelike game that I really enjoyed, despite not being the best at, and has some unique aspects that separate it from many other twin-stick shooters. One of the more visually minimalistic games, but attractive that I've ever played similar to Mini Metro is Deru: The Art of Cooperation. Originally a 2018 release for the Switch that I completely missed, it's a beautiful 2D puzzle experience that really tests your puzzle solving skills. Unlike a lot of co-op games on this list, it is actually a relaxing experience too, and even at its shorter length, I really enjoyed my time with it. Jelly Break essentially checks off all the boxes of a cooperative two-player platforming game. It might not be the most memorable or original game you will ever play, but there is plenty of enjoyment here in a two-player setting. The twin-stick shooting elements also provide enough of a break in typical platforming gameplay to hold your interest throughout the experience. Ibb Obb is a gravity-based cooperative puzzle game that can be a bit challenging but easily enjoyed across most gaming levels. It provides a great deal of satisfaction at the end of every level and ramps up the difficulty at a rewarding pace, leading to a lot of aha moments. The game's tagline, "Outsmarting Gravity Together," sums up what to expect quite nicely. Joggernauts is the first auto-runner cooperative game on any of these lists, but I really think it should warrant more attention. You must quickly switch places with your teammates on the fly to match the colors placed along the 2D platforming levels. It's a unique mechanic that doesn't grow that old too quickly. I will say your success might be a little too dependent on your buddies, so definitely make sure they are ready to keep up with this one. Another cooperative space game comes Out of Space Couch Edition. The goal for your team is pretty simple, in which you will attempt to clean and maintain randomly generated spaceships. Because of this, it really can only be enjoyed in party settings in short bursts, so it is limited, but what is there is a good time and one that balances fun and difficulty quite nicely. Another game from the cooperative puzzle genre of gaming comes Pitfall Planet. It reminds me a lot of the game Pod, where you work together as robots to traverse little cave-like levels, but with a decent variety of gaming mechanics. I also really enjoyed the art style the game had, and even for its simple look, it visually popped nicely and made for a well-rounded experience. Shift Happens is one of the best co-op puzzle platformers I've ever played on the console to date. The game truly feels like it was designed for 2 players, as players work together to exchange mass while solving puzzles, among other abilities. The game has a reasonable length at around 10 hours and really scratches that platformy puzzle itch, especially if you partner up locally. Next on this list is Boomerang Fu, a multiplayer party game for up to 6 players that can also be played together on teams. From a pure fun factor point of view, this was one of my favorite surprises ever on the Switch. In cartoony arenas, you essentially use boomerangs to slice other players or bots in deathmatch environments. The premise is simple, but is a lot of fun in a group competitive setting and has a co-op mode that should not be overlooked. Next up is another Overcooked-inspired cooking party game for up to 4 players, but with a slight twist. In short, you play as a team of bakers who attempt to collect little dough-like creatures to cook in the oven on each level. While it suffers a bit from being too repetitive, I'm really not sure why this game hasn't gotten much love, as the core gameplay was a good time at 2 players, and I imagine it would be even better at 4. Last on this list comes the adventure platformer game based on the long-running French comic book series The Adventures of Asterix. This is the 3rd XXL game, but the only one to feature co-op. The game is far from perfect with some mutable voice acting, but provides enough mindless entertainment for anyone that enjoys the 3D platforming genre.
My man here is definitely talented.
That is it for the games on my initial list, but I wanted to share a few that are on my radar for this year and should be on yours as well. Up first is Kitaria Fables, a game from the farming RPG genre that looks like the real deal, and I'm really enjoying the look of the game so far. The game is also entirely playable in co-op, so it has my attention. It is due for release on September 3rd. Keywe is described as a cooperative postal puzzler trying to accomplish wacky post office related tasks as 2 birds. The premise is a bit weird, but if it plays half as fun as it looks, then this could be a real treat. It is due to arrive in August of this year. Trash Sailors is a hand-drawn sailing co-op game for up to 4 players, where you attempt to fish and collect trash out of rivers to accomplish various tasks. The art style looks great and is another one that, if it plays as well as it looks, could be a great time. It is due out on Switch on August 30th, 2021. My 4th and final co-op game that is due for release later this year, and the last game on this list, is Lumberhill, a cooperative game where you play as farmers and lumberjacks taking care of animals and cutting down trees and any other obstacles nature throws at you. The game is due out in Q4 of this year. That is all I have for you today, everyone. I appreciate you watching till the very end, and I hope there was a game on here for you and your friends that caught your attention. Subscribe if you'd like, and happy gaming.